In this story, two girls set out on a trip to an unfamiliar place. Little did they know that this journey was about to turn into the most horrifying nightmare of their lives. They fall prey to deception and get trapped in the clutches of a dangerous gang, forced to do things so horrific that just hearing about them would make anyone shiver. Escaping from there seems nearly impossible, but a fight born out of fear and desperation is often the deadliest. The people who thought they were the hunters had no idea who the real predators were. This isn't just a story about survival. It's about teaching those monsters a lesson they'll never forget. After watching this, your perspective might completely change. So, let's see how this deadly game finally ends. The story begins with Katie and Jenny, who seem very happy. Both are agriculture students, and today they're excited because they're heading to a farm in New York for their practical training. They're thrilled, thinking that along with the practice, they'll also get to explore, sightsee, and do plenty of shopping. The next morning, their uncle Jason, who is an FBI agent by profession, comes to pick them up. When they reach Jason's house, they meet his girlfriend, Clerk, who's delighted to see them. Arriving in this new city, Katie and Jenny decide to change their names. Katie becomes Joy, and Jenny becomes Lisa. The next day, Uncle Jason drops them at the bus stop for the agriculture farm. While waiting for the bus, Jason stays nearby, but Katie tells him not to worry. The bus will arrive soon. She says she'll message him as soon as they reach safely. Jason instructs them to use a code word in their message so he can know everything is okay without raising suspicion. Katie jokes that she'll just type apple, but Jason insists they use different words each time so no one can decode their messages. As they wait, two boys walk past, noticing Katie and Jenny. After Jason leaves, the girls head to a nearby cafe for coffee. Surprisingly, the same two boys show up there. Their names are Zed and Lucas. During the conversation, Katie and Jenny introduce themselves with their new names, Joy and Lisa, and mention they're heading to the agriculture farm. Zed casually says they're going to the same farm and offers to take the girls along. But Katie refuses, wary of this new city. However, as they start to leave, Jenny convinces Katie to go with them, a decision that will soon turn out to be their biggest mistake. Instead of taking them directly to the farm, Zed and Lucas drive them to a house near a forest. Katie and Jenny panic and demand that they turn the car toward the farm immediately. Just then, Maria, Zed and Lucas's mother, comes out of the house. She greets them warmly and invites them inside for tea. Both girls try to refuse, but she assures them, saying Zed and Lucas will drop them off later. Once inside, as they sip tea, Katie gets a message from Jason. She quickly types apple and sends it back, letting Jason know she's safely arrived. But soon after, Maria offers them some food. The moment they eat it, something feels off. Their heads grow heavy, and they realize too late that their meal was laced with a drug. Panicking, they try to escape, but only get a short distance before losing consciousness. Zed and Lucas lift them and drag them back inside the house. The next day, Katie and Jenny wake up to find themselves in the middle of a dense forest, their hands bound in heavy iron chains. Terror grips them as they scream for help, but there's no one around to hear them. Suddenly, Zed appears and sneers. "You two are so innocent, falling for this so easily. This is a place where no one will hear your screams, so scream all you want." Not long after, a man named Boris, who had taken Katie's phone, arrives. Showing the phone, he asks Katie nervously, "Did some man named Jason message you? You replied with L last time. What does it mean?" Katie quickly explains, "L is our code word. It means we're safe." Hearing this, Boris messages Jason back immediately, writing that everything is fine, and even includes apple so Jason won't suspect a thing. But things get worse. The gang forcibly makes Katie and Jenny bathe in front of them. Just then, a police officer arrives, and the girls try to beg for help. Within moments, they realize this officer is working for Zed and Lucas, sending their fear through the roof. With no escape, they're completely trapped. Katie and Jenny plead, "Please, let us go. We won't tell anyone. We'll even give you money." But the gang ignores every word. Things take an even darker turn. The police officer grabs a tablet and approaches Katie. Moments later, he emerges from her container, making it clear he assaulted her. Meanwhile, Jenny is taken to a deranged, intoxicated man. He lights a cigarette on her to terrify her, making her scream in agony. Then, he performs acts so vile that it's obvious the gang has crossed every line imaginable. All of this is done purely for money. The girls are being forced into unimaginable horrors. Meanwhile, Jason, back in New York at the agriculture farm, notices Katie use the code word apple again. He immediately realizes someone else is using her phone. Panic sets in. He now knows they are in grave danger and sets out to find them. Back with the girls, their nightmare intensifies. Zed and Lucas put masks over both their faces, then call in a stranger wearing a bizarre mask. When they remove their masks, the girls scream in sheer terror. The masked man chooses Jenny and drags her into a container. When he's gone, Katie rushes to her side and realizes just how badly Jenny has been hurt. She's in excruciating pain. Meanwhile, Jason arrives at the police station and meets a police officer, unaware that this is the same officer who had assaulted Katie. Jason introduces himself as an FBI agent and explains that he suspects Katie and Jenny have been kidnapped. When the officer asks why, Jason says, "I told my niece to use the code word only once, but she used it again. That clearly means she's in trouble." Back in the forest, Boris gets this information from the officer. He learns that Katie's uncle is an FBI agent and that Katie had lied about the code word. Boris then takes Zed aside, saying, "We need to get rid of these girls as soon as possible, or we'll be in serious trouble. And we still have new girls coming. We have to catch them too." Katie secretly listens to their entire conversation. Soon after, Boris returns to Katie's container and assaults her. Meanwhile, Jason tracks down the restaurant where Katie and Jenny were last seen. He questions a worker about the girls, and the man gives him information about Boris's car. The next day, Katie warns Jenny that the gang is planning to kill them. Just then, Zed and Boris return, bringing the same deranged man who assaulted Katie. They tell him to watch the girls closely until they come back. As soon as they leave, Katie devises a daring plan. She lures the man close and pretends to flirt with him. When he approaches, she suddenly slashes his throat. The man screams in agony, collapses, and dies on the spot. Katie and Jenny quickly remove their handcuffs and hide nearby. When the police officer arrives, the girls steal his car and make their escape. They head straight to a mall, but this isn't about shopping for fun anymore. They stock up on weapons, axes, hammers, nails, tennis balls, and all kinds of dangerous tools. Now, they're not running. They're preparing to take revenge. Katie approaches the mall cashier and asks for Boris's home address, which she gets. At the same time, Jason tracks Boris's car insurance company and finds the same address. Meanwhile, Boris is at home, enjoying music and relaxing, completely unaware of what's coming. Suddenly, Katie and Jenny arrive. They fling tennis balls embedded with nails at Boris's face. When Boris regains consciousness, he finds himself tied to a table. He screams and desperately offers them money to free him. But the girls aren't interested in money. They only want revenge. By now, Jason has also arrived outside Boris's house. Inside, Katie and Jenny demand the address of the masked man from Boris. Terrified, he gives it to them. The girls then shove a nail-studded stick into Boris from behind. He screams in agony, writhing in pain. Hearing the commotion, Jason rushes inside, only to find Boris brutally injured, lying lifeless. But before he can react further, he hears a car outside. By the time he reaches it, Katie and Jenny have already escaped. Jason immediately heads to the police station and questions the same officer again about Katie and Jenny, but the officer ignores him. When Jason tries calling Katie, he realizes her phone is in the hands of that corrupt officer. He understands the full danger, but before he can act, the officer points a gun at him. Meanwhile, Katie and Jenny arrive at a church. They've discovered the truth. The masked man is none other than the church's own father. The moment the father sees them, he recognizes them, but Katie immediately strikes him from behind with a stick, knocking him out. The girls tie him to the back of a car and drag him through town. They stop at a shop to buy petrol and matches, douse him in gasoline, and set him ablaze, ensuring he pays for his crimes. Back at the other location, the corrupt police officer ties Jason to a chair and later kidnaps 2 more girls, attempting to assault them. But Katie and Jenny silently arrive, strike him on the head with a stick, and knock him out. When he regains consciousness, he finds himself tied to a chair. Panicked, he begs for mercy, but the girls ignore his pleas. Katie then plays a terrifying game of Russian roulette, loading only 1 bullet and repeatedly pulling the trigger to scare him. The officer laughs, thinking he's lucky, but in the next moment, Katie shoots him dead. Afterward, Katie and Jenny free the 2 kidnapped girls and tell them to untie Jason. Once freed, the girls explain that they were instructed to do this by some girls, and Jason immediately realizes the truth. The girls who saved him are none other than Katie and Jenny. Next, we see Maria, Zed, and Lucas's mother, drinking casually. Suddenly, she begins to feel dizzy and collapses unconscious. When she wakes, she finds herself tied to a chair in the basement, with Zed also bound in front of her. Katie and Jenny then proceed to beat Zed mercilessly with sticks in front of Maria's eyes. Zed screams in pain, but they don't stop, relentlessly hitting him until he dies. Maria begins to sob uncontrollably, witnessing her son's brutal end. The girls then drag Maria to Lucas and hand him a stick, forcing him to strike his own mother. They threaten him, saying that if he refuses, they'll shoot him. But Lucas can't bring himself to hit her. In a swift move, Jenny shoots him dead. Then, Katie cleans the gun and places it in Lucas's hand, making it look like the mother and son killed each other during a fight. Maria, terrified, begins sobbing and pleads, offering them huge amounts of money if they spare her life. Katie and Jenny just laugh. Maria herself was the root of all this cruelty. For money, she had committed unimaginable atrocities against countless girls, and now she was trying to save herself. Katie grabs a chainsaw and without hesitation severs Maria's head from her body, finally ending her reign of terror. Days later, Uncle Jason arrives at Katie and Jenny's home. He brings them back to New York, and finally, the girls reach the agriculture farm for their practical training, safe and free at last. So, friends, that was the story of Katie and Jenny, a tale of revenge.